The accidental bond. The quiet corner of the ship. Marcus Chin lived in the spaces most people ignored. The maintenance corridors of the TSS Endeavour were his kingdom, a maze of conduits and machinery that hummed with life beneath the polished surfaces the passengers saw. He preferred it down here where the air smelled of ozone and lubricant, where he could think clearly without the constant chatter of the crew quarters. 26 years old and already the ship's lead systems technician, Marcus had a reputation. People called him obsessive. He called it thorough. Every panel had to be aligned perfectly. Every coupling had to be tightened to exact specifications. Every system deserved to run at peak efficiency, not because regulations demanded it but because it was right. The Endeavour was humanity's first deep space vessel crewed jointly with the Valerian Empire, an alliance formed after decades of careful diplomacy. The Valerians were a warrior culture, tall and imposing with crystalline skin that shifted colors with their emotions. They valued strength, honor and tradition above all else. Marcus found them intimidating but fascinating, like living sculptures carved from gemstone. He was running diagnostics on the environmental controls when he noticed her. Commander Lyra stood near the bulkhead, reviewing something on her data pad. She was one of the Valerian military advisors assigned to the Endeavour, and Marcus had seen her around the ship but never spoken to her directly. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her skin shimmering with deep purple and blue hues that suggested concentration. A problem that needed fixing. What caught Marcus's attention wasn't the commander herself but what she wore. Valerian officers wore ceremonial armor even during routine duties, intricate pieces that seemed to be part decoration and part protective gear. Lyra's armor was stunning, each plate etched with patterns that seemed to tell stories Marcus couldn't read. But something was wrong. The chest plate had a series of hairline fractures spreading from a central point, and the surface had lost its polish in several areas. Marcus frowned. That kind of damage could compromise structural integrity if it spread. The environmental controls had been fluctuating in this section for days, creating humidity levels that might accelerate deterioration in certain materials. He should report it through proper channels. File a maintenance request. Let the Valerian crew handle their own equipment. That was protocol. Marcus grabbed his toolkit instead. His feet carried him forward before his brain could talk him out of it. He had cleaning compounds rated for exotic materials, sealants that worked on molecular levels, polishing solutions designed for surfaces human hands had never touched before. "Commander Lyra," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "I apologize for the interruption, but I've noticed some damage to your armor. The chest plate specifically. I believe I can repair it if you'll allow me." Lyra's head turned slowly. Her eyes were striking, completely black with flecks that sparkled like stars. When she focused on Marcus, he felt the full weight of that attention. Valerians didn't do casual glances. When they looked at you, they looked through you. "You wish to repair my armor?" she said. Her voice had a musical quality, harmonics that suggested she was speaking multiple tones simultaneously. "The fractures will spread if left untreated," Marcus explained, pointing to the damaged area. "The humidity in this section has been unstable. I can seal the cracks and restore the protective coating. It shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. The moment everything changed. Lyra stared at him for what felt like an eternity. Her skin shifted through several colors Marcus couldn't interpret. Finally, she reached up and began unfastening the chest plate. The armor came away in her hands and she held it out to him. "Proceed," she said. Marcus took the armor carefully, surprised by its weight. The piece was heavier than it looked and warmer, as if it retained heat from her body. He set it on his workbench and began examining it more closely under proper lighting. The damage was more extensive than he'd first thought. The fractures formed a starburst pattern, suggesting impact trauma. Around the edges, the protective coating had indeed degraded from environmental exposure. The etchings covering every surface were incredibly detailed, geometric patterns flowing into what looked like pictographic scenes. He started with the fractures, applying a specialized sealant that would bond at the molecular level. As he worked, he was careful to follow the existing patterns rather than cutting across them. Something about those etchings felt important, like they were meant to be preserved. Once the sealant set, he moved to cleaning and polishing, working methodically to restore the armor's original luster. Marcus lost himself in the work as he always did. Each section needed different attention. Each mark had to be treated with care. The armor was beautiful and it deserved to look its best. He polished around the etchings, bringing out their depth and detail. 30 minutes passed like 30 seconds. "There," he said, satisfied with the result. "Good as new. Better, actually. The sealant should prevent future fracturing, and I've applied a coating that should resist humidity damage. Just keep an eye on it and let me know if you notice any other issues." He looked up and froze. Lyra was staring at him with an expression he'd never seen on a Valerian face. Her skin had shifted to colors he didn't recognize, swirling patterns of silver and deep crimson. Behind her, 3 other Valerian warriors had appeared, all of them staring at Marcus with identical expressions of shock. "Did I do something wrong?" Marcus asked, his stomach dropping. The weight of tradition. Lyra took the armor from his hands slowly, reverently. She examined every surface, running her fingers over the places he'd polished. When she looked at him again, her voice was very quiet. "Do you know what you have done?" "I repaired your armor," Marcus said, confusion mixing with growing dread. "I cleaned it. That's all. I just saw damage and thought it should be fixed." "Repairing armor is permitted," Lyra said. "Polishing it is something else entirely." One of the other warriors stepped forward. "He doesn't know, Commander. Look at him. He has no understanding of what he's done." "What did I do?" Marcus asked. "Please just tell me what I did wrong." Lyra held up the chest plate. "In Valerian culture, our armor is sacred. Each mark, each pattern, each scratch and dent tells the story of our service. We earn these marks through battle, through sacrifice, through protecting others. We do not decorate our armor. We earn its appearance through our deeds." Marcus listened, beginning to understand he'd stepped into something much larger than a simple repair job. "We maintain our own armor," Lyra continued. "We repair it ourselves, clean it ourselves, bear its weight ourselves. No other warrior touches another's armor. Ever. With only 2 exceptions." She moved closer, and Marcus had to crane his neck to meet her eyes. "The first exception is preparing a fallen warrior's armor for their final journey. The second is making a formal declaration of bonded service. When a warrior polishes another's armor, they are making a public statement. They acknowledge every battle represented in those marks. They accept every scar as their own. They declare that if that armor fails, they will stand in its place." Marcus's mouth went dry. "I was just trying to help. Intent does not matter. The act itself is binding. By Valerian law and custom, you have declared yourself bonded to me. My battles become your battles. My honor becomes your honor. If I fall, the duty to continue my service falls to you." Understanding the consequences, the world seemed to tilt. Marcus looked at the armor in Lyra's hands, at the marks he'd so carefully polished, at the patterns he'd followed without understanding their meaning. "That's impossible," he said. "I'm a maintenance technician. I fix machines, not fight battles. How could I possibly?" "You are not expected to fight as a Valerian warrior," Lyra interrupted. "But you are expected to uphold the bond. To maintain my armor. To bear witness to my service. To stand as my second in all matters of honor and duty." She paused, and the silver in her skin deepened. "It is the highest bond in our culture. More sacred than what humans call marriage. It is a warrior's oath, and once made, it cannot be unmade without dishonor." Marcus felt like the deck was falling away beneath him. "Can I apologize? Explain it was a mistake? There has to be a way to undo this." "You can publicly withdraw the bond," Lyra said carefully. "Declare that you did not understand and do not accept the responsibility. But doing so would be considered a grave insult. Not just to me personally, but to my entire bloodline and to all Valerian warriors serving on this vessel. You would be stating that my service is unworthy of respect. That my battles mean nothing. That my armor, and by extension my life, has no value." "I wouldn't mean that at all," Marcus protested. "Valerians do not recognize ignorance as an excuse for dishonor. The act was performed. The consequences exist. You can accept them or reject them, but you cannot make them disappear." Marcus sank against his workbench, his mind racing. This couldn't be happening. He just wanted to fix something that was broken. That's all he ever wanted. "What happens if I accept it?" he asked quietly. Lyra's skin shifted to softer colors, deep blues and gentle purples. "You become responsible for my armor. I teach you the story of every mark, every battle. You maintain it, repair it, ensure it is ready for service. In exchange, I am bound to defend you with the same ferocity I bring to combat. Your life becomes as sacred to me as my honor. We are bonded until death, or until one of us commits an act so dishonorable that the bond breaks by mutual agreement." The decision point. Marcus looked at the 3 other Valerian warriors watching this exchange. They hadn't moved, hadn't spoken, but their presence felt significant. "Why are they here?" he asked. "They are witnesses," Lyra said. "They will carry word of what happened to the rest of the Valerian contingent. They will also ensure that whatever decision you make is honored. I need time to think. You have one rotation cycle. 26 standard hours. At the end of that time you will make your choice public. Accept the bond or withdraw from it. Lyra's voice softened slightly. I suggest you speak with your superiors, with others who understand both cultures. This decision will affect more than just you and me. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Technician Chin, I have watched you work for the past 3 months. I have seen you treat every system on this ship with care and respect. I have observed you speaking to machinery as if it can hear you, thanking equipment for functioning properly. You care for things, even things that cannot care for you in return. It is a rare quality. Marcus found his voice. What do you want me to do? Lyra's skin shimmered through several colors before settling on something that looked almost like regret. What I want is irrelevant. This is your choice to make and you must make it freely. I will not influence you either way. She left, taking the other warriors with her, and Marcus was alone in his maintenance corridor. He looked at his hands, at the cleaning compounds and polishing solutions still spread across his workbench, and wondered how 30 minutes of honest work had just changed his entire life. His datapad chirped with an incoming message from Captain Rodriguez. My office. Now, we need to talk about what you just did. Marcus closed his toolkit slowly and headed for the lift. This was going to be a very long day. The captain's perspective. Captain Elena Rodriguez had been commanding deep space vessels for 15 years, but nothing in her experience had prepared her for the diplomatic nightmare currently sitting in her office. She looked at Marcus Chen and resisted the urge to sigh. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, she said. You saw damage on a Valerian commander's armor. Without asking permission, without consulting anyone, without checking cultural protocols, you just decided to repair and polish it. Yes, ma'am, Marcus said quietly. And in doing so, you accidentally performed one of the most sacred rituals in Valerian culture, essentially declaring yourself bonded to a warrior commander who outranks you by several levels. That's the situation, yes. Rodriguez did sigh this time. Chin, you're one of the best technicians I've ever worked with. Your maintenance records are flawless. But you have this tendency to treat every problem as something you personally need to fix. Do you understand the position you've put this entire mission in? I'm beginning to, Marcus admitted. Rodriguez pulled up a file on her display. I've been reading everything I can find about Valerian bonding customs. Do you know how rare this is? Most Valerian warriors never bond with anyone in their entire lives. It requires finding someone willing to take on the weight of their service history, someone they trust to stand as their second. And you just accidentally offered this to one of the highest-ranking Valerian officers in their fleet. What should I do, Captain? That's not my decision to make. But I can tell you the consequences either way. Rodriguez leaned back in her chair. If you withdraw the bond, we'll have a diplomatic incident. The Valerians will see it as humanity showing disrespect for their customs, declaring their warriors unworthy of our honor. Relations on this ship will deteriorate, possibly affecting the entire alliance. And if I accept it? Then you'll be bound to Commander Lyra under Valerian law. You'll have responsibilities I can't even fully comprehend. You'll be tied to her service, her battles, her honor code. It will affect your entire life, Marcus. Your career, your relationships, everything. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Did anyone ask her if she wants this? What do you mean? Everyone keeps talking about what this means for me, for the alliance, for diplomatic relations. But Commander Lyra is the one who has to live with having a human technician as her bonded second. Has anyone asked if she wants that? Rodriguez studied him thoughtfully. The Valerian delegation sent me a message. They said Commander Lyra has refused bonding offers from dozens of warriors over the years. She has standards that apparently no one has been able to meet. Until you polished her armor without understanding what it meant. Why me? Marcus asked, genuinely confused. I'm nobody special. I just fix things. Maybe that's exactly what she needs, Rodriguez said. Someone who sees something damaged and makes it better without agenda or expectation. Someone who treats sacred armor with the same care they give to cooling systems and power conduits. She stood up. You have 26 hours to decide, Chin. Use them wisely. Think about what you really want, not just what you think you should do. This isn't about duty or diplomacy. This is about your life and hers. Make the choice that's true to you. Marcus left the captain's office with more questions than answers. As he walked through the corridors, he noticed crew members staring at him. Word had already spread. By tomorrow, everyone on the ship would know about the maintenance tech who accidentally bonded himself to a Valerian warrior. He found himself heading back to his maintenance corridor, to the familiar equipment and the comforting hum of machinery. This was where he thought best, where everything made sense. Marcus Chin had 26 hours to make the most important decision of his life, and he had no idea which choice was right. The weight of honor. The night of contemplation. Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay in his quarters staring at the ceiling, his mind replaying the day's events over and over. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Lyra's expression when she realized what he'd done. Not anger. Not even surprise. Something else, something he couldn't identify. His datapad chimed softly. A message from an unknown sender with Valerian designation. Observation Deck C. If you wish to understand, come alone. Marcus sat up. It was 0200 hours, the middle of the ship's night cycle. He should ignore the message, try to sleep, wait for morning to think clearly. Instead, he found himself pulling on his uniform and heading for the lifts. The observation deck was empty when he arrived, just curved transparent aluminum showing the stars beyond. The Endeavor was between jump points, holding position in empty space while the navigation team plotted their next course. The view was nothing but distant suns and the endless dark. You came, a voice said. Lyra stepped from the shadows near the bulkhead. She'd removed her armor and wore simple duty clothing that made her seem somehow more alien without the familiar military trappings. Her crystalline skin caught the starlight, creating patterns of light and shadow across her features. You asked, Marcus replied. They stood in silence for a moment, two beings from different worlds, connected by an accident neither had planned. Why did you let me polish your armor? Marcus asked finally. You could have stopped me. You knew what it meant. Why let me do it? Lyra moved to the viewport, her reflection ghosting over the stars. Because I was curious. I have watched you work, Technician Chin. For 3 months, I have observed you treating every system on this ship with care. Speaking to machines as if they have souls. And I wondered what you would do when faced with something truly sacred, without knowing it was sacred. It was a test? An observation. I have received many bonding offers in my service. Warriors attempting to prove their worth through displays of combat skill, through demonstrations of strength and tactical brilliance. They tried to show me they were worthy of standing beside me in battle. She turned to face him. But I am a warrior. I do not need another warrior to validate my strength. What I needed was someone who could see past the battles to what lies beneath. Someone who looks at sacred armor and sees not a symbol of power, but something that needs care. Understanding the burden. How many marks are on your armor? Marcus asked. 372 major designations. Each represents a significant engagement. The minor marks number over 2,000. Marcus did the math in his head. If each mark represented a battle, then Lyra had seen more combat than most soldiers experienced in several lifetimes. You're tired, he said, and it wasn't a question. Lyra's skin shifted to colors Marcus was learning to recognize as surprise. Valerians do not tire of battle. It is our purpose, our... Everyone gets tired, Marcus interrupted gently. Even warriors. Maybe especially warriors. You're not just carrying armor, Commander. You're carrying every battle those marks represent. Every decision, every loss, every moment where you had to be perfect because lives depended on it. That's a lot of weight for one person. For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. Then her skin shifted to colors Marcus had never seen before. Deep midnight blues shot through with silver, like stars falling through darkness. Yes, she said quietly. I am tired. The bond? Marcus said, understanding dawning. It's not about having someone fight beside you. It's about having someone help carry the weight. The armor weighs 43 kilograms. But the burden of service, the responsibility of every life saved and every life lost, the accumulated weight of 372 major engagements. Lyra's voice trailed off. That weight is immeasurable. Marcus thought about his maintenance corridor, about the equipment he cared for, about the satisfaction of making broken things work again. He thought about spending 30 minutes carefully polishing armor marks without knowing what they meant, treating them with respect simply because they seemed important. If I accept this bond, he said slowly, I need you to understand something. I'm not a warrior. I can't fight beside you. I don't know your honor codes or your battle traditions. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to ask stupid questions. I'm going to probably embarrass you in front of other Valerians. I know. But I will learn every story those marks tell. I will maintain your armor like it's the most important piece of equipment on this ship. And when you come back from whatever battles you have to fight, I will be there to help carry the weight. Because that's what I do. I fix things and take care of things and help things work the way they're supposed to. Lyra's skin blazed with colors so bright Marcus had to blink. You accept the bond? Yeah, Marcus said. I accept it. Someone needs to make sure that armor doesn't corrode again. Might as well be me. The formal ceremony. The bonding ceremony took place in the main assembly hall, witnessed by both human and Valerian crews. Marcus stood in his dress uniform, which suddenly felt inadequate compared to the full ceremonial armor surrounding him. Lyra stood beside him, every piece of her armor polished to mirror brightness, every battle mark visible and proud. Captain Rodriguez officiated, reading from a protocol that had been hastily assembled by combining human legal frameworks with Valerian traditional customs. We are gathered to witness the formal acceptance of a bonded oath between Commander Lyra of the Valerian Defense Corps and Technician Marcus Chin of the Terran Systems Alliance. This bond, formed through ancient custom and accepted through informed choice, binds both parties to mutual responsibility and honor. Marcus's hands were steady. He'd made his choice and he was at peace with it. Commander Lyra, do you accept Marcus Chin as your bonded second? Do you swear to defend his life as you defend your honor, to share your battles and allow him to witness your service? I do so swear, Lyra said, her voice carrying through the hall with absolute conviction. Technician Chin, do you accept Commander Lyra's bond? Do you swear to maintain her armor and carry the stories it holds, to stand as witness to her duty and bear the weight of her service? Marcus looked up at Lyra, at the warrior who had been carrying 372 battles alone, and thought about sacred armor and the instinct to care for things that mattered. I do so swear. Then by the authority vested in me as captain of this vessel and witnessed by representatives of both our peoples, I declare this bond accepted and binding. The Valerian warriors in attendance created a deep harmonic sound, their version of approval. The human crew applauded. Marcus stood there feeling like he'd just signed a contract written in a language he was only beginning to understand. Lyra turned to him and held out a case. Inside were tools, specialized implements for armor maintenance, each one crafted with obvious care and age. These belong to my family's armor tender, 6 generations past, she said. They are given to those bonded to warriors. You will use them to maintain my armor. Marcus took the tools reverently. They were beautiful, balanced perfectly, designed for purposes he would need to learn. When do we start? He asked. Now, Lyra said. I will teach you the story of the first mark, the one that began my service. And then the second and the third until you know them all. The first test. 3 weeks after the ceremony, the Endeavour received a distress call. A civilian transport had suffered catastrophic systems failure near an unstable asteroid field. Rescue operations would be dangerous, requiring precision flying and someone willing to risk their life in hostile conditions. Lyra was assigned to lead the rescue team. Marcus found her in the armory, checking her equipment with the methodical care he recognized from his own work. He'd been studying Valerian combat procedures in his spare time, trying to understand the world his bonded partner inhabited. How dangerous? He asked without preamble. Significant, Lyra replied, not looking up from her weapons check. The asteroid field is unstable. Many obstacles. Minimal margin for error. What are the casualty projections? For the civilians? 70% survival if we arrive within the next 4 hours. For the rescue team. She paused. Acceptable risk levels. Marcus had learned that acceptable risk, in Valerian terms, meant a significant chance of death. Your armor, he said. Let me check it before you go. Lyra turned to him and something in her expression softened. She removed her chest plate and handed it to him. Over the past 3 weeks this had become routine. Marcus maintained her armor daily, learning the story of each mark as he polished them. He knew which mark represented the Battle of Creeth 7, where Lyra had held a space station corridor against boarding parties for 9 hours. He knew which one represented the rescue of a civilian colony from raiders, where she'd been injured saving children. He checked every seal, every coupling, every plate with the thoroughness that defined his work. When he was satisfied, he handed it back. It's ready, he said. You're ready. Bring them home safe. Lyra reattached the chest plate. You're not going to tell me to be careful? To avoid unnecessary risks. You're one of the finest warriors in the Valerian fleet. You don't need me to tell you how to do your job. Marcus met her eyes. But I need you to come back because someone has to tell me the story of the mark you're about to earn. For a moment, Lyra's skin shifted to colors that Marcus was learning meant affection. Then she placed one massive hand on his shoulder. I will return, she said. You have my oath. The wait. The next 6 hours were the longest of Marcus's life. He tried to work, running diagnostics and performing routine maintenance, but his mind kept drifting to the asteroid field where Lyra was risking her life to save people she'd never met. He understood now why the bond was so sacred. It wasn't just about maintaining armor or standing as witness to battles. It was about caring for someone who had to walk into danger while you stayed behind, powerless to help. His datapad chimed with updates. The rescue team had reached the transport. They were beginning evacuation procedures. Casualties reported. Lyra's team engaging hostile elements in the asteroid field. Marcus paced his maintenance corridor, unable to sit still. Other crew members kept stopping by, offering support or just checking on him. Apparently, everyone knew he was bonded now, and they understood what that meant. Chief Engineer Park found him around hour 4. The teams are on their way back, she said. All civilians accounted for. Rescue team intact. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Chin, can I ask you something? Do you regret it? The bond? Marcus thought about the past 3 weeks. Learning Valerian battle history. Studying honor codes he barely understood. Maintaining armor and learning stories of fights he couldn't imagine surviving. Waiting while Lyra walked into danger. No, he said. I don't regret it. Even though it's hard? Especially because it's hard. Everything worth doing is hard. Return and revelation. Lyra returned with her team 12 hours after they'd departed. The rescue had been successful, all civilians saved, but it had cost them. 2 team members were injured. The shuttle had taken significant damage. And Lyra's armor bore new scars. Marcus met her in the docking bay. She looked exhausted, her skin cycling through muted colors that suggested pain and fatigue. But when she saw him, her colors brightened slightly. You came, she said. Of course I came. Let me see the armor. They went to the maintenance bay, the space that had become theirs over the past weeks. Lyra removed her armor piece by piece, and Marcus examined each section carefully. New damage on the left pauldron. Scoring across the chest plate. A crack in the thigh guard that would need serious repair. Tell me the story, Marcus said as he began working. So Lyra told him about the rescue. About navigating through the asteroid field with debris threatening to destroy them at every moment. About fighting off scavengers who tried to claim the transport's cargo while people were still trapped inside. About carrying injured civilians through hostile fire to get them to safety. Marcus worked as she talked, his hands moving with practiced skill. Sealing cracks. Cleaning scoring. Restoring protective coatings. Each new mark would become part of the armor's history, another story in the collection he was learning to carry. 373, he said when he finished. Your new count. Lyra examined the repaired armor. You've gotten better at this. I have a good teacher. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, exhausted warrior and tired technician, connected by a bond neither had expected but both had chosen. Was it worth it? Marcus asked. The risk, the danger, the new marks you'll carry forever? Lyra's skin shifted to colors that Marcus had learned meant absolute conviction. Every life saved is worth the marks I bear. That is why I serve. Marcus understood then, truly understood what the bond meant. It wasn't about fighting together. It was about one person walking into danger while another person helped them carry the weight of that choice. Looking forward. 6 months after the accidental bonding, the Endeavor completed its first joint mission. The alliance between humanity and the Valerian Empire was stronger than ever, partially because of the visible proof that the 2 species could honor each other's customs and traditions. Marcus had become something of a minor celebrity among both crews. The human who accepted a warrior bond. The technician who maintained sacred armor. The man who learned 373 battle stories and treated each one with respect. He and Lyra had developed a routine. Every morning he checked her armor. Every evening she taught him more about Valerian culture and combat. They argued about maintenance schedules and honor protocols. They shared meals and discussed the philosophical differences between their species. And when Lyra had to walk into danger, Marcus waited and worried and kept her armor ready for when she returned. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't polished my armor that day? Lyra asked one evening. Marcus considered the question. I'd probably still be down in maintenance, talking to machines and making sure everything runs perfectly. You'd probably still be alone, refusing bonding offers from warriors who don't understand what you need. And would that be better? Marcus looked at the armor he'd just finished maintaining, at the new marks they'd added over the past months, at the warrior who had become his partner in a bond he still didn't fully understand. No, he said. This is better. Hard, complicated, sometimes terrifying. But better. Lyra's skin shifted through colors that Marcus now recognized as contentment, affection, and something deeper that neither of them had words for yet. I agree, she said. This is better. And in the maintenance bay of the TSS Endeavor, surrounded by the tools of their respective trades, a human technician and a Valerian warrior continued the work of carrying each other's burdens. One through maintaining sacred armor. One through walking into danger. Both through honoring a bond that began with an accident and became something neither would ever willingly break. The stars beyond the viewport continued their endless journey through space, and Marcus Chin, maintenance technician and bonded second to a warrior commander, had finally found where he belonged.